And good evening, everyone. Tonight, WWDC was the conference that no one could go to, but it had some significant changes for Apple. New versions of all their main operating systems and a processor change that everyone said was going to happen, except me. Tonight, on the Mac to the Future livecast, and Warren from the beach. Go! Oh, and it actually brought me right back without me having to do anything. That is amazing. This is the Mac to the Future show. You'll probably notice a slightly different look tonight. This is kind of an experiment where we're trying out StreamYard as compared to all the various hundreds of other ways that I've tried to do this show in the past. And I'm not exactly sure how all of this is going to work. We have, of course, Mr. Dave Ginsburg. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? And actually, the video intro actually sounded very good when it plays. Usually through Mimo and others, it would be kind of garbled and jump. And so, I think this might be your service here, my friend.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm doing maybe.
Well. And we have, if I can get him in here, we have Mr. Warren Sklar, or do we? Live from the beach. I don't see him. Apparently, it's very dark at the beach tonight. There he is.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your screen is frozen, but we'll just live with that.
StreamYard doesn't work so well on an iPad, from what I could see.
Well, not certainly. Yeah. That's okay. We're just gonna push on and do the best that we can. We can hear you, you can hear us, and we can see a facsimile of you there on the screen. So good job. Thumbs up, everybody. So glad you're all here tonight. The other thing that will probably work a lot better is the fact that we have comments coming in, not just from my own personal page, but also from a Facebook user, from the Mac to the Future page as well. So we can get comments from both those places at the same time, and that is a good thing. So you can see there's the comments coming in down there in the bottom. Isn't that wonderful? And we're so very, very happy. And Cletus wants to know what beach you're at, Warren. And Warren, I think, is gone. Yes, Warren is attempting to come back. Now we have
him twice.
Warrens.
This is terrible.
There he is.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
It's crazy. It is a constant source of entertainment, though, and that's the part that really matters. All right, so please, what beach you're at?
This is Belmar Beach, New Jersey.
Belmar Beach, New Jersey. That's right. You and I met there 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I got the pictures to prove it.
Had a drink. Let's go into... Was it coffee? Okay. Let's go into quick takes. Apple CEO Tim Cook will testify in U.S. tech antitrust probe in July. So this month, this being July 1st of 2020. My gut feeling says that this isn't going to go anywhere, that it's not that big of a deal. But then at the same time, I remember just how very wrong I was when all of this stuff, a very similar type of case popped up with Steve Jobs and Amazon Books, that Apple got slapped down for. Even though they had like a negligible share of the market, they still kind of hit them with antitrust stuff. And Warren's gone. Dave?
Yeah.
You're still there.
So it looks like not only Tim Cook is going to be at this event, I guess we could call it.
Yeah.
It's also going to be Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, Alphabet, Google, Sundar Pichai, and Amazon's Jeff Bezos will appear at the press hearing to set. It's going to be probing of the competition in the digital markets. Let's see is there some antitrust involvements here with all four of one of the biggest companies I named. So this should be interesting. Where this all goes.
Yeah, I don't really know what people expect these companies to do. None of them have like a majority share of the market. So, and other companies have been able to jump in and out depending on, what kind of services it is that you're talking about. So I don't really understand what the big hubbub here is. And Warren's trying to get back on again. It got dark again. Must be a total eclipse of the sun.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to have to keep refreshing to come back in. That's how it's going to go. Yeah.
And we can tell it's a live picture because you look so happy.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's saying like, yeah. You know what? You guys continue on, and I'm going to figure this out.
Okay. Well, you jump in whenever you want to jump in, Warren. Yeah. Streaming services pricing going up, or at least in one case there, Dave.
Yeah, YouTube TV goes from, it was, I believe I was subscribing to it when it was at $45. Then it went up to, no, it was $40. Then it went up to $50.
Well, they had the two different service. Wasn't it like YouTube Blue and YouTube Red, something like that?
No, they had.
Or am I thinking of a different service?
Yeah, they have YouTube Premium, which I am a subscriber of. That gives you like no commercials, and which is worth every penny, honestly, because especially I'm on YouTube a lot, and watching those ridiculous ads every 5 seconds is annoying.
Yeah.
So $10 a month, worth every penny. But they also have YouTube TV, which provides people an alternative to having, cutting the cord, having cable TV. You could get some of your cable TV services those channels through their own service, which they have an unlimited DVR. I mean, it's a great service. It actually works really well, but they've raised their price 3 times in the last year and a half, 2 years. So now it's up to $65 a month. And so, I mean, it's getting to a point now. Is it even worth cutting the cord anymore? I mean, because that's always been the term we've been accustomed to and having discussions about in the past is, let's cut the cord. We're going to really get that cable company because they don't, they pay too much for our services. But look what's happening now. Now all of a sudden, people are catch winds of some of these online services, like Hulu's another one. I mean, Hulu has its own TV style service, which includes the local channels in both cases. But you're still paying $55-$60 a month just for that, and it's going to be limited to what channels you can have beyond that. The extended tier channels like History Channel and A&E and the channels like that. But I mean, they're great services in the sense that I do like the fact that it's an unlimited DVR. You can go and record to your heart's content. Don't have to worry about it. It's out on the cloud. You can go grab it anywhere, anytime, as long as you're online. But I think it's really coming down to the fact that people are starting to cut over, and they were paying less money, but now they'll be paying more money.
And this, I don't really think this comes as too much of a shock. Part of the reason why cable companies were able to get so many of these channels, number one, there wasn't really much in the way of competition. Number two,
right,
because they were able to bundle so many channels in, whether or not people really watched 9/10 of those channels or not, it allowed them to say, well, we've got 500 channels of pure digital entertainment that we're going to give to you for, this right, price or that price. And they weren't really paying the content creators all that much, which is what led to, with some of the cable companies, suddenly not being able to show CBS or ABC or some of the other channels that were basically saying we want more money for our content.
Right.
To me, it always seemed like, you guys are commercial entities. You always supported yourself through ad revenue. What's changed? You've gotten, however much the cable companies were paying you, nothing has really changed. You're still getting money for advertising for popular shows.
Yeah.
So why is it suddenly that you can't afford to be on with Comcast or whatever, pick your poison as far as
right.
cable providers go? Because all you're doing is taking off your customers.
Oh, absolutely. And now I go back to the article here. I see that I remember I was a subscriber in April of 2019. It was $40 a month. It was awesome. I'm like, holy cow, this is great. And I love the service. It was, like I said, it was great. But then they at April 2019, they jumped to $50 a month, and it's not even a little over a year later. They go up to $65 a month. So
yeah,
it's just, I think all these other services are going to start following suit, but now that's why you're seeing a lot of separate entities like Disney Plus, obviously one of the hottest services out there right now. I mean, they got Hamilton coming on and it was interesting.
Yeah,
they decided, no more free trial. They canceled their free trial. You either want a subscription, you got to pay it up, or you're out of luck.
But the only live programming that they have, and it hardly even matters now, is ESPN. And I always thought it was weird because Disney also owns ABC. So
right.
Why wasn't ABC part, the whatever shows were available live or not live, but as part of the ABC family, why wasn't any of that included? It was all just, Star Wars and Disney and Pixar and, I don't know. I don't get why you're coming out with a streaming service and you own one of the big three or one of the big four U.S. cable company but commercial broadcasting companies. Why not include it?
Yeah, and I think they wanted to keep it a separate entity is probably where it was really at, because
does ABC have a streaming service?
Yeah, you can stream ABC on its own. It has its own app, and I mean you just piggyback on. Yeah, I'm not even paying attention. Sorry. It piggybacks onto whatever service you happen to have, whether it be Comcast or YouTube TV for that matter, and you can use the ABC app, and they have on demand and all that stuff, and you can watch your live local. I mean, that was the other thing that was neat about YouTube TV as well. I mean, you can't do this with your cable company, is the fact that if you want to be able to watch all your channels, if you travel to a different location, let's say I'm in Las Vegas, all my local channels will change from Chicago to Las Vegas. I'll be watching all the local channels in the city that you're in, because it sees where you are and gives you that access. Comcast is doing a lot more with their app now, the Stream app, and the only reason I'm talking about Comcast is I'm a subscriber. So,
right,
I'm starting to see more and more changes with for the good with the Xfinity Stream. They're letting you stream onto a Google Chromecast now. I don't know if Apple TV will be next. They've already bundled their service into Roku. So Roku, what's great about it is, like we have a summer house, and the TV upstairs, the cable is dead, and I don't want to pay Comcast $100 to come up and try to figure out why the cable isn't working anymore.
Or tear the house up trying to find, put in a new cable.
Why isn't it working? I'll spend $29 for a Roku Express, and then have
Apple TV
and have Xfinity Stream on it, and I can watch all that TV. Basically has a box, and I don't need a cable because it's using the internet to do it.
But that's also why I think that the Apple TV as a device is probably going to go away. I can't see, now that they've started including it in quite a few smart TVs, and that's only going to go up, as well as what used to be their number one competition, which was Roku. And I believe it's also available on Amazon's Fire products now as well.
Apple TV is on Roku. So
yeah, why even bother to make the Apple TV box anymore? Is there a is there a technological advantage
Other than the
using an
AirPlay,
Apple TV?
I mean, other than the AirPlay, I mean, but the thing is, I've got a Google Hub sitting on my desk here that I use for a small screen. Sometimes I want to transfer over watching something on the screen. Warren just said he's a spectator now.
Well, you tried, Warren. You tried.
It was a college try. We'll give you that. That was a good try. We appreciate it. So I've got the Google Hub on my desk, and I just
HomeKit. That's a good point.
Yeah, HomeKit's another reason with Apple TV. Yeah, if you wanted to do that, but there's so many devices out there now. But the Apple TV still allows you to do AirPlay, so you can AirPlay a lot of content from iPhone, iPad, Apple TV for that matter. Mac for that matter. So it's going to be interesting to see what Apple does, because there really wasn't much discussion during the WWDC.
No, I can't think of any discussion. I mean, they briefly mentioned it as getting an update. You know, that tvOS was going to get an update, but there was no buzz.
And a lot of what we've been talking about on the podcast is there really hasn't been much to talk about with the Apple TV. I mean, honestly, it's just not. There's not really much. There's right now. So
it's not really much in the way of a game box, which kind of leads into our next story.
Yep. Go ahead.
Apple Arcade canceling some Apple Arcade games. So, yeah, that's what we wrote. We wrote that right there. Apple is canceling some of their battling keyboards. No, that's my quick take. That's not your quick take. That's mine. Apple is canceling, I guess, some of the games that aren't being super popular, or at least aren't getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Does that kind of feel like a desperation move on the part of Apple? Because whether or not certain developers that had games that maybe hadn't been as popular as others are no longer on the platform, they did put some work into creating these games and making them available through Apple Arcade. Why would Apple cancel some of these games? I can't understand the reasoning behind it.
I think they were finding that a lot of these games weren't popular. They weren't being played, and really decided that let's step back here, and then some of the games that aren't as popular, let's pull them off the platform and see what we could do and focus on a lot of the titles that are doing well. I mean, you named off a couple during pre-show of some of the games that you play. Those are still there. So,
if I can get to, I can't find my finder. Oh no. Let's see. Pac-Man Party, Pinball Wizard, Oceanhorn 2. Let's see. What are some of these other ones? My brain is hurting. Where is it? Grindstone. There's a bunch on here that I'm playing on a regular basis, especially now that I'm home, working in front of this computer all day long. Since there wasn't like a ton of content to begin with, why would Apple just remove some, whether or not they were super popular? At least it was there. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. Where it's going to be at. So.
Okay, well let's move on.
I'm not a gamer, so I can't really say much.
I love games. Let's move on to WWDC, the wrap up there. The big news, really, even with the processor change, was still focused on iOS and iPadOS, with the major changes that are coming to both of them with iOS 14 and iPadOS 14. And it's not really just all cosmetics. There's some other stuff in there too. Though cosmetics, of course, has a big part of it, especially for the phone, where when they first started talking about widgets,
mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, the screens aren't that big. Where are you going to put these things? And it wasn't until I was watching Carl Madden from the Mac and Forth show do a demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
That you can tile these things. So if you've got a widget that has 3 spaces, which pretty much takes up the whole width of the screen,
right,
you can take I'm not even sure there's an upper limit, but you can have like 4, 5, 6 of those same 3 tile like widgets and just flip between them for any information that you want to need, that you might need. And it makes it really kind of super easy to get to information that you want to look at and get something out of without having to open up yet another application, because it's just right there on the home screen.
Yeah, I mean that's what's I've been, I've not played a lot of it lately. I need to keep going on it. It's hard when I don't make it my production device. I'm just not brave like Warren is, where he decides to all betas on everything and have at it. I just can't do it. So I have it on a spare 10R that I have, and it's neat. I mean, you're able to put you could put popular widgets right onto the home on one of your home screens. And then the thing is, you can narrow it down your screens. I can show you here on the phone here. You can narrow it down where only one home screen will be here, and then you have the app library that they've now created. We talked about too, where it groups all the apps automatically for you to make it easy, as well as giving you.
Those are Apple's choices though for the groups.
Apple's choices, but
you can't really change them.
But the great thing, this is what I really love, is the alphabetical list of all the apps. You can scroll through all this and be able to see everything A to Z. Because it's always a challenge, and that's been that way for forever, as far as how you could find your apps. I mean, it was always very difficult to find your apps on all the previous versions of iOS, including iOS 13. It makes it always made it a challenge. So I'm seeing some improvements on here. I know we've talked this out to death. I mean, there's just so much that we can only talk about with the announcements now.
Yeah.
As when the next beta comes out, then I think we'll have something else to discuss and say, hey, yeah, it looks like Apple made some more changes. And it'll be interesting to see. I was going to spin a little bit to Big Sur. A lot of people have been. A lot of people were setting things up and trying to do a dual boot on their Macs, and they were coming to find out that it was messing up their Catalina boot. And I said, oh well.
Because done that with Catalina, you had like 2 different partitions anyway. You had the OS partition, and you had the everything else partition. The applications and documents and all the rest of that.
Right.
So the fact that you're throwing on another OS, which is going to have its own OS partition and its own database or its own data partition, is kind of like, what are you thinking of? Why would you even do that? What advantage do you get from running a beta of an operating system on top of a different operating system that's other than, when I heard about this story, I was kind of like, you're the kind of people that lose everything because you've done something like this and it's all Apple's fault.
Yeah.
It just seems like they really, really weren't thinking when they decided that they wanted to try to do this. And I'm waiting to hear from the people who end up with one of the first silicone machines and trying to run like boot camp or something like that on it. It's like, okay, yeah, that'll be entertaining. Okay, iPad OS, pretty much the same changes as iOS. The big change for iPad OS was Scribble for hand recognition using the pencil. The pencil is now kind of grown into kind of like the mouse for the iPad. It does so much more than I think most people realized when they first introduced it as a device for the iPad.
Yeah, no, it's pretty slick. I have it on a first gen iPad Pro 12.9 inch, but I don't have the first gen pencils, so I haven't been able to try it. But from the demos I've seen, a lot of the bloggers and others that are doing on the YouTube channels I've watched it. It's amazing being able to scribble out a URL right in the box, and it just goes right to it and recognizes your handwriting is pretty impressive. So I think
I put the beta on my iPad Pro, my first gen iPad Pro. Yeah, I figured, what difference does it make? You know, if it doesn't work, then it's a first generation iPad Pro, and just wipe it and move on.
Do you have a pencil?
I do not have a pencil, and now I'm thinking that along with the big screen that you and Warren have, that I may need to get one.
Yeah, I've got the 11-inch. That's my primary device. The other one is just I use for beta and demos. So
I like them. It is almost time for me to get, I think, a new iPad. I've had the first gen iPad Pro came out 4 years ago, I think.
4 years, yeah, at least.
So it's about time. It's about time to get a new one. Big Sur, have you had a chance to play with Big Sur at all? The beta for it?
A little bit. I have it installed on an old MacBook Pro. I just like I told you pre-show, I was able to install it on an old 2014 Mac Mini. And I was amazed. I was able to get it on that old of a machine, and I think that's the bottom line of where you can install a Big Sur.
Yeah.
This is a slow machine, 8 gigs of RAM, not a super fast processor. It took a while to install, but after it got installed, it actually was running pretty smoothly. The 2014 MacBook Pro running pretty well. I mean, if anybody doesn't know, I unfortunately my main MacBook Pro 2019 model is out in Apple repair land, so because it decided to stop working. So
that's not good.
Excuse. Yeah, I thought, well, what are you gonna do? So you just gotta sit and wait. But good thing is I had some backup old machines that I had, and yeah, that gives me an excuse to play around with Big Sur a little more. But I'm seeing some. I'm liking the graphics. I mean, there are a lot of rounded icons and everything, and they brought the control center from iOS into
messages,
into their messages. Got some
and maps. Messages and maps are both Catalyst apps.
Yep, they're all Catalyst. So,
and Catalyst 2 is looking to be, especially once the Mac moves to silicone, is Catalyst 2. I think is going to become more and more important, as some developers will probably try to take advantage of it to port their apps over to the Mac from iOS. And you know, it's kind of a brave new world as far as the Mac goes. I have some thoughts about where it could be going, but that's not really the direction I think we want to go tonight in this show.
Yeah.
But now I tried to actually install the beta for Big Sur on my early 2013 MacBook Pro. Complete and total fail. It just would not do it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I put it on. It's a 2018 MacBook Air that I got from Warren, and this is a minimal machine. You know, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig SSD, I think.
It's plenty.
And it runs great. I'm for a beta. I'm very surprised at how well Big Sur is running.
Yeah. The other thing too, there was a lot of stories out there in the news was, of course, talking about Apple Silicon and the developers who decided to go against their NDA and not and do benchmarks of that Mac Mini that they received to start doing their developing, which is honestly a little crazy if you ask me, because it's not a production device. It's not going to be the final product. But
no,
if they felt the need to run benchmarks on this device and show that, of course, it's going to be slower than what they expect it to be, because it's an A12Z processor. It's an iPad processor and because Apple is not going to put out in the wild a processor that they're actually going to be producing.
No, I mean the whole point of the development device using the A12 was they had them, they were cheap, they were plentiful.
Right.
So, you know, put them in the hands of developers to start switching their apps over to silicone, and you know, whether or not it ran as well as it will with Intel processors, it's like, you know, it's like every other kind of transition. There's going to be some bumps in the road, so just relax and let it go. You know, have a good time with your only. You know, you're the only people that have a chance to play with Mac computers running silicone right now. Just enjoy it. Nobody else can do it yet.
I mean, you have an NDA. If you're a developer, I have a developer account. I don't share anything that isn't already in public knowledge, because I fall under that NDA as well. It's just kind of just stupid, honestly. But you know what? That's what they have to do. They got to develop, and they got to figure out how their apps are going to work on these on this platform. I think the cool thing too is going to be the fact that they'll have the choice if they have an iOS app as well as a Mac app for the same thing, that they can choose to, do I want all three to work on the Mac? Then they can, because those apps are going to be compatible. And so you may already have an iOS app, and you can convert that iOS app and have it both on iOS and on a Mac, using in the Mac App Store. So there will be some developers that decide, I'll sell my app either place, but you'll pay one price and you get it all across the board. It doesn't cost them anything, because it's the same development. It's nothing, no other overhead, because there are plenty of developers out there who, like, what drives me crazy, they sell a Mac version of an app and then they sell an iOS version of an app and they charge twice, which I think that's kind of unfair, if you ask me.
Well, those days are going away.
Those will be
so there's eventually going to be one app store, and if you support that application in iOS or iPadOS, great. If you support that app only through the Mac OS, okay, that's fine too. If you support them in both, that's where they're going to be available, is on both, and stuff will get translated on the fly. Facebook user wants to know if Catalina works on a 2013. It works as well in a 2013.
That's Frank, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, it works. Oh, yeah, you're right. It works as well as Catalina works on pretty much any other machine. That's what I've got on the early 2013 MacBook Pro. And Cletus says that people are stupid, even developers, unfortunately. Well, can't argue too much with that.
Yeah.
That's, I think, is going to be about it for tonight, Dave. Thanks for coming on. Warren, thanks for coming on, however briefly it was. We really appreciate it. If people
holiday weekend I do on the beach.
If people wanted to find out more about you, Dave, where would they do that?
They go to In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. Warren, unfortunately, isn't going to be there. He'll be there in spirit. Have a guest host coming on tomorrow, Bob Fairbairn, who's a podcaster in his own right and a very knowledgeable audiophile. So he's been on the show before, so we're going to have a lot of fun with him. And then next week, Mr. Jeff Gammett's going to come on the show.
Nice.
He's a free agent right now and looking for work, and he's going to look to expand his horizons with podcasting again. So I thought, why not have him on the show? Because I was on Chuck's live Mac Voices show last night, and we had a really nice, lively conversation about that's all kinds of fun stuff. So, and cool. Then I'm on Twitter at DaveG65. You want to check me out there as well. And thanks for having me.
It was nice to be had. You can email me, guy@mymac.com. I have 2 different Twitter accounts. I have Mac Parrot naturally, and I also have Vert Shark, as well as if you want to see all of the stuffs that I do for the most part, going over to vertshark.com and you'll find most of it there. I also do the MyMac.com podcast with Gazmaz on, most weekends. Most weekends, Gaz and I do the MyMac.com podcast together. I've been trying to get a weekly video presentation for that as well. Had some problems last week where the audio got out of sync with the video, and it was going to be way, way, way too much work to make that happen as compared to just having everything work out of the gate. So I said no. But maybe this weekend we will be able to get that going as well. And of course, there's Guy's Daily Drive, which is the crazy thing that I do while driving in my car doing podcasts for reasons. And I think that's going to do it for tonight, Dave. I appreciate the fact that you've come on.
I appreciate you having me.
It's always nice to be had. And we will see you all next week. Oh, remember YouTube. I almost forgot YouTube. Go over to YouTube, look up Vert Shark, look me up, Guy Searle. All of this same stuff is going to be there, all the videos. And while you're there, make sure you like, share, subscribe. And if you missed it the first time, like, share, subscribe. That's all you got to do. It's so easy. We'll see you all next week right here on the Mac to the Future Livecast. Go!